Okay, hello and welcome to another episode of my new podcast, Hiring and Inspiring. Show where I talk all things sales, recruitment, leadership, business, and pretty much in between. Now, this week we're going to be having a bit of a recruitment chat because I've got my new colleague and BMS's most recent hire on the show. My guest is a chap called Ray. He's our most recent hire. As I said, he's been with BMS for a couple of months now. Really interesting guy. He's been doing really well. Made a great start with the business. So I'm excited to have a chat to him and see how he's finding it and learn a little bit more about him. So, Ray, welcome to the show, mate. How you doing?
Good finish to the end of the week. So keen for
Yeah,
the weekend, but
good,
nice to relax.
good man, good man. Well, thanks for coming on, mate. Just to kick it off, I look, you're our newest hire, as I said. You're pretty new in the role, but you've been here a couple of months now. Just the first question, mate. How are you finding it? How you getting on so far in the role?
Pretty good. I guess in the team just helps me with every question that I fire them with 1,000 questions a day.
Yeah,
Team just helps out, and obviously it's in any sales, and you just got to put the work in, which is similar to my background before. And
yeah,
but so far so good. I think it's a lot of learning compared to
yeah.
what I was used to. So, but yeah, it's just exciting to just keep
Yeah.
learning new things and developing new different skills and how to talk to different clients. Very different or similar, but quite different to what I'm used to. But it's
Yeah.
good.
What's been the biggest learning curve so far, you think?
I think it's just more of having more open-ended questions. It's
Okay.
probably very important because in real estate, what I'm used to is sort of just smashing out the phones and you get a no and you just ask them pretty much in a sense of, "Are you selling? No, great. See you later."
Yeah,
It's
okay.
in this industry in recruitment. It's like, well, okay, you've got to. It's more nurturing. It's more of long-term game rather than a short-term game, and I've been guilty of trying to close every single call,
Yeah, yeah, okay, yeah.
and I've been told not to do that just because it's not sort of the module that works in that sense of
Mm,
recruitment. I mean, it does work. You get lucky a few times, and I have been lucky in a few times. But
yeah.
I mean, long term wise, then yeah, it's more of building that relationship, which is something that's kind of new to me.
Yeah, definitely. It is all about that long-term mindset. You can pick up the short wins here and there, I find, but if you can develop that long-term mindset, from the offset, mate, you'll be you'll be onto a winner really. So, mate, from what I've heard, you've made a really good start, and from what I've seen as well, what do you think sort of allowed you to make such a flying start with us?
To be honest with you, it's the training from the get go was sort of like
Yeah,
it wasn't all over the shop like most like when I was in real estate, my first day was like my training was basically, hey, these are the kind of things you need to say it however you say it, but just get to the
yeah,
point of are they selling or they're not selling. Not selling, great, move on to the next one.
yeah.
In this is sort of like with Tim and Matt and sometimes Adam and now Sam's come when he came back from his
Mm,
holiday. There's a lot more things involved in sense of questions to ask, those kind of things. So I think to be more the way I've gotten into it is just sort of being able to be confident on the phone. That's
yeah,
one thing that's definitely helps. It's being able to
yeah, yeah,
pick up
yeah,
the phone and just say, "Hey, it's Ray from BMS," and then go on from there.
yeah.
So that's just I would say,
Yeah, I mean, I haven't heard a million of your calls, but from what I know and from what I've seen, people who have success in recruitment and compared to people say who don't, the one of the biggest things is the phone manner, just how you sound on the phone.
yeah,
The what you say and how you say it, how you
yeah,
react to people, and you can be smart, you can have all the energy, you can have all the enthusiasm and the goodwill in the world. But if you don't sound good, if you don't sound credible on the phone in
yeah,
recruitment, you're going to struggle. So,
yeah.
and I think the fact that you have just picked up the phone and effortlessly, sorry, just built rapport with decision makers quite quickly off the bat. I think that's probably stood you in good stead. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely. And the people that I've been speaking to as well is sort of those guys. It's just having that first quality call, like good quality call. So
Yeah.
when they speak to you, you can obviously the tone of it is just knowing whether or not it's going to be a good call.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm being guilty of, even though listening to the tone and know it, and I just brushed that off and I kept like
Yeah.
waffling on about certain things.
Yeah.
And I've been guilty of that as of recent, but it's,
Mm.
it's sort of part of sales when you're
Yeah,
doing
of
a lot of
course.
calls a day.
And recruitment, sort of what you expected. And I appreciate, you coming in with, no experience. You wasn't 100% sure what to expect, maybe. But
Yeah.
is it in line with that?
For what I expected, I mean, no, to be really honest
Okay.
with you. I expected, because, in fairness, at the start, it wasn't in my, like, sort of plan A to be in recruitment.
Sure. Yeah.
But I know that there's a lot. I mean, now that seeing everything that I'm doing now, I'm getting more excited about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was never really in the agenda to be in recruitment. I was more thinking of other sales aspects. But the more I'm learning now, the more I'm getting excited about it, the more I'm,
Yeah.
wanting to know what the next best thing to do in it. So,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely seen a future in it now because
Yeah.
with the training that I've got as well with Tim and Matt, and constantly just trying to evolve myself as not only just as a recruiter, but as a
Mm.
person as well. It's very different, um, different to what I'm used to. Very
Yeah.
different.
Mate, you've
Mm.
come in with the right mindset, I'd have to say, like that mindset of learning and being like, being a sponge to, as you say, to, learning off the people around you. Especially with coming in with no experience in recruitment. That's, in my opinion, that's one of the best things the best things you can do. And it's what sets people apart from people who have success and people who tend
Yeah,
not to. If you kind of think you know it all, you
yeah,
come in with a mindset, teach me and learn. And as you said, then you're really enjoying that process. So, mate,
yeah.
that's great to hear.
It's always good to keep it that there. I mean, like the people that are telling you as well, like if they tell you not to do something in a sense that that's the wrong way, it's not, they're not having a go at you. You got to learn.
Mm.
You got to know that, and don't have too much ego. And the thing is, I've been guilty of that in the past because that's what real estate was, is full of ego,
Yeah.
and everybody knows that. Even the guys in real estate would say the same thing. You know, but it's sort of, for me, it was just knowing to that what they're doing is trying to make me better, to succeed further in my career. So
Yeah.
just accept that.
100%. Yeah, 100%. So you mentioned before about it wasn't necessarily plan A to get into recruitment. How did you get into it? How did that all sort of go down? I don't think I've ever asked you that.
Yeah, funny enough, I was applying for jobs in different sales.
Yeah.
Like when I was leaving real estate, I wanted to be in sales, no matter what other
Yeah.
aspects of B2B sales, and I needed obviously experience in B2B because as you know, real estate isn't really B2B sales, it's more B2C. Um, and I was applying for other junior roles, and came about for a certain role that one of our colleague Karen is
Yeah.
was handling, and
Okay. Yeah.
I got into talking with her, and then we just bonded really on the
Nice.
interview.
Yeah.
Not only that, we were also, funny enough, we're from the same. Her mum was in the same country, obviously, and also same area where I'm from,
Okay. Yeah.
where I grew up at. So, and yeah, she said, "Look, I think you're good for this role, but I think you'll also be good for for what
For
we're
us.
looking
Yeah.
for.
Okay.
Yeah, for
Mm.
what BMS is looking for." So she pitched me the idea.
Yeah.
I said to her, "Look, wasn't really like the intentions, but I'm happy to have a chat." Had a chat with Tim. Had a really good
Mm.
chat with Matt, and next thing you know, it was
Yeah.
yeah. I was like, you know what? Don't worry about the rest of the
Yeah.
search. This is exactly what I'll be looking for, and yeah, it's been good.
Sorry, mate. Just dropped there.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah. So it sounds like honestly a lot of similar to myself, similar to virtually everyone else who works in recruitment. You fell into it, right?
Yeah,
It's honestly so many people just fall into recruitment. You might be looking for a sales role and you end up recruitment, and then you put
yeah,
it in front of you. I never really thought of that, but that sounds pretty good. So
yeah,
um, yeah, mate, it's very relatable, that story. So just going back in time, then you touched on a few times already, your background in real estate.
yeah.
Keen to chat a little bit about that and find out a bit more about that because yeah, I'm interested to find more. I think when we caught up a few weeks ago, you mentioned something pretty interesting. I think you said real estate is the hardest easy job in the world, or something
Yeah,
like that. What
yeah,
what did you mean by that?
yeah. So like the hardest, when I mean the hardest and easiest job, so it doesn't take too much to do the industry really. When you're picking up
Okay.
phones, it's just trying to find leads and trying to see who's selling, who's not selling. There's not really any strategy towards it. It's just sort of sometimes it's 50% luck and 50% hustle.
Mm.
Um, and it's easy in the way if someone goes, "Hey, I'm actually looking to sell." Great, you go in there, sign it up, do the marketing, go through with everything, go through the process. The hardest bit is obviously selling it with different markets. So if you've got a hard, tough market like this year and last year,
Yeah.
then it's not as easy as selling it 2 years ago in that sense now. Well, two
Yeah.
years ago, time has flown by. But the hardest bit about it is obviously you can have a listing, but you could also not sell it. You don't
Yeah.
get
Okay.
paid.
Yeah.
So those are the things, and there's a lot of barriers, and so there's a lot of hustles, and you just got to remember as well, real estate's this new gem that everybody wants to get into because they see the flashy cars and
Yeah.
what people put out there, but they don't actually realize how hard it really is.
Mm.
Imagine like per week you've got to go and do 50 door knocks, and
Mm.
50 door knocks not even that much compared to a lot of people. Some people
Mm.
do door knocks every day.
Mm.
Imagine going knocking on someone's door and saying, "Hey, my name is Ray from real estate X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Um, you know, just a curiosity if you would, sell your house." So those kind of things. Like obviously, it's a little bit more better in that sense, say better than that
Yeah.
aspect. But it's like imagine doing that every day.
Mm.
Door knocking and then putting yourself out there in front of all these people and you're getting rejected way more times. And
Yeah.
it's not like for us, my job now. I'm not saying it's easy at all. It's still
Mm.
a hard job, but in its way, like it helps you, as in like if companies have fundings to be able to use our
Yeah.
services, those kind of things a little bit easier. In real estate, you don't know. It's a shot in the dark. It's like
Yeah.
you don't know if they're actually going to sell or they're not going to sell. You don't know. Sometimes they'll be like, "Yeah, I'm selling," but you don't. They might not even use you.
Mm.
So you don't get listings. You don't sell the listings. You don't get
Yeah.
paid. You don't eat
Yeah.
those kind of things.
Yeah. Yeah. Gotcha. So that hustle you mentioned about, yeah, you've really got to work hard and hustle in real estate. What does that actually look like? Is that just purely just knocking on more doors than say your competition? What
So
do you mean?
yeah. So in order, obviously, not everybody is putting their phone numbers out there, and the
Yeah.
way to get in front of them is to really be physically in front of them.
Yeah.
And sometimes you've got to do the hard yards and go into the door, leave a card, or door knock and say, "Hey, my name is Ray from X, Y, and Z. I'm here just to, see if anybody's got a buyer." Those kind of things. So I mean, in its way, like that's the type of hustle you need to be into real estate, and also you've
Yeah.
got to be closing pretty much in that respect. Like the first call, you've got to really, if they are selling, you've got to get into that door that
Mm.
day. You can't leave it because if you leave it, there's like a million other agencies in your street, and you'll lose that listing more than more times than you can count. So yeah, it's it's a dog eat dog world out there with real estate, to be honest with you, even in
Like
a good market.
dog eat dog in terms of your competition, or even people from inside your own organization.
Same thing. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, different organizations can be, others will compete against each other, and
Yeah.
there's some really toxic offices out there, and
Right.
that's normal, man. There's always toxic offices in a lot of places,
Of course. Yeah.
regardless if it's real estate or other companies. Um, but in real now, like I said, there's like a million real estate agencies in one street,
Yeah.
and it's just it's high. So yeah, you've got to. It's sort of like you only get one shot kind of thing
Yeah.
in real estate. So if you don't, you get in front of them, you can't blow it. Like there's no second
Yeah.
chances. You've got to nail it.
Does that, you mentioned about the door knocking and the face to face stuff? Say you get rejection doing that. Is that
Yep.
tougher than
Yeah.
say someone hanging up on you doing
Yeah.
what we do.
Well, imagine getting in front and just building up the courage. Like I
Yeah.
remember my first door knock, I had this guy slam the door in front of me, and it was
Sorry.
so fun. It was so funny. No, like
Sorry, I should
at the
laugh.
time. No, 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 no. Look, at the time,
Yeah.
it was not funny at the time because I was
Yeah.
so upset because it took me so long to build this courage because I've never
Wait,
done it before.
was this your the first door knock?
The first door knock, right?
Oh
It
my
was my
god.
first time. So build courage to really physically go there and
Yeah.
like knock on the door and yeah, try to see. So basically, the backstory of that is this guy had his property in the market. My boss at the time was saying, "Hey, we don't have this guy's number in the system. It's not on any. We can't find it. The only way to do it is
Yeah.
to go there physically." I was like, "Okay, no problem."
Mm.
And then I get there and I was sitting in my car. I just remembered I was like so nervous. I was like building like when you're so scared about something, you imagine a million things in your head that's going
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
happen and like the bad things that will
Yeah.
happen. And then funny enough, I was sitting in my car just thinking about it. I was like, you know what, I've just got to do it. Like, at the end of the day, the goal is to make money, and this
Yeah.
is the way to make money. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just had that in my mind. Built that enough courage, got to the door knocked it. The guy was I mean, in fairness, it was also 5:30 in the afternoon on a Tuesday,
Yeah.
so he's
Okay.
probably like had a shit start of the week. Sorry, my fault.
Mm.
Bad start of the week, and he must have um he must have just had a bad week,
Yeah.
bad start of the week, and then I get to the door and he's just like cranky. And I got the words out finally, and he's just like, if you, it was like, if you want to talk to me, call me. And then he shuts the door in my face. But I was like, the whole point of me going there is to get your details. So I
Didn't
can
even have your number, mate.
that's the point. So I just remember that, and I walked off, and then I got in my car, and I was just like this. I felt like just all this confidence that I built up just
Yeah.
shot straight down. It just disappeared.
How did you recover from that?
I guess it's just the next day. I just forgot it. Like not forgot about it. Just
Yeah.
don't dwell on it
Yeah.
because you know 9 times out of 10 you're gonna get you're gonna get rejection. It's a numbers game. That's what it is. It
Mm.
is a numbers game, and you'll get a lot more no's than you'll get yes, and that's the same for any sales.
Yeah.
But again, it's sort of the next day I just thought about it and I said, you know what, I can't. This shouldn't change this wouldn't
Yeah.
change my life regardless. So,
Yeah.
yeah, just went back to normal. Just did the same thing,
Yeah.
and yeah, it builds. You just gotta be more resilient into it.
Yeah. So
Mm.
you must have built a heap of resilience doing that job. I can imagine.
Yeah, I mean,
You could. I imagine you look back at that. With you're grateful for it, right?
yeah.
The fact that
Oh,
you did have the courage to knock on the door and took that. Took all those no's, and it allows you to maybe, as you have, come into this
yeah,
role with us
yeah,
and hit the ground running. Is that
yeah.
right?
Yeah, definitely. And I think in that sense where I was when I started, I remember it took me 6 months to finally get my first listing. Right,
Okay.
first listing. And funny enough that well, not funny or not not funny then, funny now, but when I got that listing, didn't really sell and we had to take it off the market
Yeah.
anyway. But after that, the hard work that I put in from the start, it all started coming together,
Mm.
and then I was getting listings. I was getting a couple of listings after a couple of listings, like back to back to back. So
Yeah.
I just looked back into it, and then I was just like, man, I put some real hard work into this to get
Mm.
this. And the fact and the ones that we did sell was just like I remember my first. So I was beyond to a point that I almost cried because
Yeah.
there was like blood, like not blood, but it was just a lot of just a lot of hard work put
Yeah.
into
Yeah.
that. You've got. I was making about 100 something calls a day. I had to do 40 connects. I had to do one appraisal, which is a booking an appointment a day as well, just to be
Yeah.
in front of a seller or a potential seller. Um, yeah, it's just I just look back into it and I was just like, well, this is why you put all the hard work, hard yards, at
Yeah.
the start, and then you succeed later. So
Yeah.
again, it's just sort of that also built the resilience in me and put that hustle into me as well
Yeah.
because and that's why I think I've started pretty well where I'm at now. It's
Yeah.
just because I have that experience of knowing what rejection feels like over and
Yeah.
over and over again, that you just have it in your mind that, yeah, it might be no's now, but you'll get a yes at some
Mhm.
point. So it's not going to be a no forever. Let's just say it that
Yeah.
way. So,
Yeah. Love it. Love it. So mate, why did you move on? What brought about the change, getting out of real estate?
yeah, for me, I couldn't really see, like, when I started to get into real estate, I really did like the aspects of sales.
Yeah.
Um, and I knew that having really no experience in any other sales industries. I remembered at that time when I was looking for real estate at the time was so easy to get into.
Yeah.
Um, but it was also good to develop your skill set in
Yeah.
picking up the phone and just having, like I said, I talked about before, just having that hustle, really, just
Yeah.
developing that mentality of, go, go, go kind of thing. And, you've got to put this work in order to succeed.
Yeah.
Um, and then it got to a point where I was just like, you know what, real estate isn't really what I want to do. As in terms of where my career, I want to end, finish up
Mm.
my career in a sense of where sales is. I
Mm.
want to get to a more work for a company or a good company that I can learn more of. Because in
Yeah.
real estate, you only learn to a certain degree. That's it.
Yeah.
You pick up the fundamentals, and the way to succeed in real estate, as far as what I've seen and what I've heard from all the successful agents, is that you learn the basics and then you continue to do the basics. And I remember I sat down in a sales conference once with our team, and we had the number one real estate agent in Australia come in and have a speak in front of us for 15 minutes, and he
Mm.
was just telling us his process, and we're all there ready to write down, and we're like, number one agent in Australia, his process was back to the basics. So you
Okay.
can see, like, back to the basics. Like, he earns, he's sold, I think, as from the 2 years ago, he sold over it was like 700 million in property value,
Okay.
and that's huge, right? So, and if you think about it, this guy is still picking up the phones. He's still
Mm.
doing the basic stuff. So, you know, and you think about it, real estate is just back to the basics. You succeed in back to the basics. So
Yeah. Okay.
I looked into it and I said, all right, well, look, I wanna try something else new while
Yeah.
I'm still young and I can still do it.
Yeah.
And somehow it lead me to recruitment, and here I
Yeah.
am.
So it was like a stepping stone for you. Like you stepped up on it.
Yeah,
You took what you could from it. It was that
yeah,
training ground where you honed your skills a little bit.
yeah,
You got what you took from it, and then you
mhm,
didn't want to be that. I don't know how old that guy was, but
yeah,
that guy you mentioned who's been
yeah,
doing it for a million years, but still doing pretty basic stuff. And that, he was like, right, I don't want to be that.
yeah.
Time for the next step on the ladder, kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, it was just what, not really, yeah, so it's not really what I wanted to do
Yeah.
anyway. It was sort of, like I said, real estate was more of a, to be honest with you, and I've said this before, and it's just real estate was a stepping stone to get into
Sure. Yeah.
other industries, because before real estate, I was in the hospitality industry. I was a chef. I was a qualified chef. So
Mm.
I trying to
Yeah.
get into business sales was going to be very tough coming from
Yeah.
that. So I thought if I take that route, I can develop some skills getting on the phones, develop some skills with, different aspects of
Yeah.
sales, and real estate was really the only platform that I could do
Yeah.
to get me to the next stage.
Yeah. Gotcha. Mate, you just touched upon it there, your background in hospitality and
Yeah.
as a chef. Tell
Yeah.
me a bit more about that.
So my dad has been a chef for 30 years now,
Okay,
pretty
yeah.
much all his life, really, if you think about it. Yeah, he was a chef. So, and I started in the industry when I was 15,
Okay.
doing some weekend works with him when
Yeah.
he was a head chef at a place called Newport Arms down here in the Northern Beaches.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, and he said, hey, 10, 15, I could be able to work. And he was like, mate, time to grow up. Start working. And I think that's what developed me, being able to just, work, really know
Mm,
how to work, and learn how to earn your money. And
yeah.
the kitchen does put you into that. And, it gets hot, it gets, fiery, obviously. pun intended, but no pun intended there. But as in like, you know, you get there and the emotions run really, really high, and
Mm.
like, and I did that for well, 11 years
Yeah.
in the kitchen. So I'm actually a qualified chef.
Yeah.
Worked in some really good restaurants around Sydney. Worked in a place called Glass Brasserie, still up by the Hilton,
Mm.
who's you know, executive chefs of Luke Mangan, who's celebrity around Australia.
Mm.
Worked for a Maribel company venue called Felix, little like nice fine dining French restaurant, and
Yeah.
other fine dining restaurant like Bathurst Pavilion. So I've worked in some really nice restaurants and some sort of more like pubs and clubs
Yeah.
and like cafes and stuff like that. So that journey, in all honesty, I honestly don't think I'll have the same work ethic if I didn't go through with that, with the
Yeah.
hospitality journey. And a lot of people who've worked in hospitality have got that work ethic. That's just
Yeah.
where you pick it up from, because I was working 80 hours
Yeah. Right.
a week. So in Christmas time, like,
Yeah.
and on average, you know, on the winter when it's a little bit quieter, it's 60 hours.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Long hours, weekends as
yeah.
well.
No,
Like,
there's no such thing. There's
oh
no
yeah. Sorry.
weekends.
Yeah. You work week.
I'll get a
Yeah.
Monday and a Tuesday, and that's it. And then everything else
Mm.
is, yeah. So I remember just you know, watching my friends, you know, on social media go to pubs and clubs and having so fun, and I'm there in sweating in a chef
Yeah.
jacket and getting yelled at, and you know, basically going, you're not good enough to be here, prove me wrong, kind of thing. And
Oh
yeah,
really? Like.
yeah, it's like that in the nicer restaurants. It's like that. You know, I've experienced where a chef has not like didn't throw it at me, but to one of my colleagues, is that he had a jus, and I've told this, I've got, you know, I've told people from business this story
Yeah.
multiple times, where he got, and I'm not going to name any names here, but he picked up this sauce, this red wine jus, and it was like, yeah, this is crap, and then like throws it into the kitchen and hits the wall and splatters everywhere and all the
Jeez.
sauces everywhere, and he was like, clean that up, and we're all just like, yeah, chef, and then
Yeah.
like cleaning it up. So
Yeah.
it's like, you know, what people don't actually realize, and I remembered back then where chefing was such a big thing because of like MasterChef and whatnot. What people don't realize how hard it really is to be
Mm.
in the kitchen, and especially those particular like nice venues.
Yeah.
It's really hard because they've got to have that high standard. They've got to
Yeah.
keep that high standard, um, and and when people watch like Gordon, yeah, and a lot of people know this, like Gordon Ramsay's Hell Kitchen, where he's
Yeah.
like yelling at people and he's telling them, yeah, you're worthless, like with the, you know, idiot sandwich, like those kind of things. That happens.
Yeah.
That stuff actually happens. It's not for show. That
Mm.
stuff he does is genuinely who he is. I don't know him as a person, but that's genuinely what other chefs do.
Mm.
So if you watch him doing all that stuff, it's not for show. It's
Yeah.
literally what chefs would do. And we had an open kitchen. People, you know, customers see that stuff,
Yeah.
and yeah,
Mate,
actually, yeah,
I get, you know, let's say a lot of hard work, I can imagine, but I
yeah.
imagine you had, you know, you were obviously a younger bloke back then. You probably had a good laugh as well. You probably had some good times and made
Uh,
some good friends and stuff, I can imagine.
Oh, man, I've still got friends who are, yeah, I definitely made some, like, you know, really good mates who, you know,
Yeah.
nowadays are I consider my best mates.
Yeah.
And I met them through the kitchen because I remember putting all that, you know, we would be together
You'd,
16 hours of the
yeah.
day and
You'd
every
get
day.
tight. You'd get tight real quick, I can imagine.
Yeah. You spend, and at the time as well, it's sort of, you know, it really shows you if you, do you really want to do this? And a lot of people,
Yeah.
you know, don't last in that industry. It's unfortunate enough. And where it is now as well, they're struggling. That whole industry is struggling, especially after COVID. And I feel bad. And I've still, till this day, I'm still getting recruiters, other recruiters in the hospitality industry call me and
Okay, yeah.
asking me if I want to work in, you know, and they're like, oh, if you want to come back to this, we'll pay you this much more. And I'm like, and today's salary for those as well, for the particular roles they have, like as a head chef or a sous chef,
Yeah.
those like salary, you would have not expected to see that like not ever, but not for a long time.
Yeah.
Like it's not nowadays salary. They're just trying to pay as many people because no one wants to do it,
Yeah.
and unfortunately, it's just the way it is.
Yeah. You still enjoy cooking that? You still,
Oh man, I
whip it?
cook. Well, I cook at yeah, I cook at
Yeah.
home every
Yeah.
day, and I love cooking. Like it
Did it ever like change though when you were working in the industry? Like because it was your job, like did you
yeah
find it like affected you as a hobby kind of thing?
yeah. I never did it when I was in the industry.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
I would. The last thing I want to do is come home and cook something. That was the
Yeah.
last thing, and um, especially coming off a really long shift, it's
Mm,
not really a thing. And no, but now, and my partner loves it. They loves the
yeah.
fact that I used to, and I have this skill, and if I, I don't think I'll ever go back in the industry, but if and when, if that ever happens, I've got the qualifications
Mhm.
for it, but I'm still training in its way because I'm cooking every day, and I'm
Yeah.
trying to also cook her whatever she wants. She has on a Sunday would give me a list, and and would just look up like TikTok and like Instagram would be
Yeah.
like, this is what I want this week. I'm like, okay, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So I just go do it, right? So you can't say no, or else it's gonna be a bad weekend. So nah, but
Oh,
I do enjoy it. Like I enjoy
yeah, yeah.
cooking. It honestly takes a lot of things off my mind. So if I've had
Mm,
a stressful week at work, and going back to that, like as so far now everything's been pretty good, but I remembered when I was in real estate, I was stressed every day. It was
yeah.
just, and when I was cooking, it was sort of, it just released that stress. And nothing, some people find it when they go for a run, it
Mm,
releases. I don't know about yourself, but when
yeah.
you go for a run, everything, everything just sort of goes away. And
Mm,
if you know what I mean. So it's that hobby that I like doing and I continue to love doing, but I wouldn't see myself going back in the kitchen. But when I'm sitting there, or not sitting there, when I'm standing there in the kitchen,
yeah.
cooking something up, everything just goes away, like
Yeah.
literally everything. So
Yeah.
it's
I
a
feel
good.
that as well. I'm definitely probably not as good as you in the kitchen, mate. But when I do cook, I don't know, it's something just relaxing about it
Yeah,
for
I can teach
sure.
you. Well, I'll definitely teach you. Just let me know when.
All right, mate. Next time in Sydney for sure.
Yeah.
Um, man, actually, just switching things up. This is a little bit of a left field question that I've got for you next. So, I know you were, born in the Philippines, and you've got Filipino heritage and family. How did you think that sort of well, not affected, but like influenced your upbringing and who you are
Uh,
today?
yeah. I mean, growing up in the Philippines, I was born and raised in the Philippines. Lived there for about 8 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, 8 years, and I experiencing, seeing what it's like, you know, in the poor side of things in a third world country.
Yeah.
You sort of everything that like until this day, everything that I get and have is everything is a blessing to me.
Mm.
So yeah, it affected a lot. And coming to a country like Australia has just been an absolute, it's like a wonder lottery, and a lot of people
Yeah.
from where
Right.
I'm from can tell you that because it's sort of it kind of like where I'm now. Like I'm blessed to have a job. I'm blessed
Yeah.
to have colleagues and whatnot, and you don't get an opportunity to work, and in the
Mm.
Philippines you don't. There's not many opportunities, unfortunately,
Mm.
and that's just the way it is. And yeah, it's it definitely it definitely puts your perspective. It gives you perspective
Yeah.
in life a little bit more, and saying that okay, you've got this opportunity to make it. To be good at something. Don't waste this opportunity because
Yeah.
if you look back on your family members or people back home, they don't get that kind of opportunity like you do.
Yeah.
So that's always been in my mindset ever since then. So
Mm.
everything that comes to me is it's a good opportunity to do
Keeps you
something
sort of
good.
that keeps you grounded in that perspective, I
Yeah.
guess, of if you have like if you I don't know have a bad day or you sort of something happens at work,
Yeah.
you lost a deal or something, or someone
Yeah.
didn't call you back and you throw your toys at the pram,
Yeah.
boo hoo me.
Yeah.
But then it's like,
Yeah.
hang
It
on.
could be
Let me
worse.
just yeah, exactly. Let me just think about say people I know back in the Philippines with
Yeah.
family.
Yeah.
You know, I've got it pretty good.
Yeah. That's what it is, and I do continue to let some of my, my partner know this, and my, my friends, is
Yeah,
that you might have a bad day, but you can literally have it worse. And
yeah,
what I mean by that, if you look at other countries, it's not just the Philippines, other
of
third
course,
world
yeah,
countries, you see those type of cultures, and then you know, that some of them aren't eating during the day.
yeah,
When I say you can have it worse, you can have it really worse.
yeah,
There's
yeah,
yeah, it's also, I do recommend for a lot of people to do go and see and travel and see other countries, and not just the flashy countries like kind of Greece and whatnot, but go
hmm
to a third world country, like Philippines, or like,
yeah,
see what that's like. Yeah, living in the street, like those kind of things, and then you really come back and then you just go, man, I've got it
oh
pretty
yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Spot on, mate. Spot on. Next question. I know you're down the track. You and your partner are
yeah,
expecting a new arrival later this year.
yeah, we are.
How you feel about that?
Oh mate, it's very good. Like happy and
Yeah,
excited, and I'm obviously wasn't something that we had planned, but it's
yeah,
again, I take everything as a blessing, and
yeah,
yeah, excited, scared, and a lot of things. I
mm,
don't know how to explain it at the moment, but
yeah.
I tell you what, that's part of my kind of why I'm doing the jobs that I'm doing, and
Okay.
it's part of and when they are, you've got to figure out when you're in a particular industry where it's super hard, and especially with the market being down, like if you're in like recruitment and there's a lot of objections, you've got to, and then you sometimes want to give up because it's too hard or something.
Yeah,
You just got to think of, why are you actually doing this?
yeah,
You know what I mean? Why is this something that you want to do? And that's just part of my
yeah.
line now as well. So
Of course.
I
Oh
would
yeah,
say, yeah, I would say that
$100%.
that's more of a motivation for me as well, and that's why
Yeah,
I try to make sure I get, I hit the ground running, and I do as good of a job as anybody. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. You can have someone else to think about, not just yourself, and
yeah,
that I can imagine that's a huge why. That's and as you say, when it gets tough, I always think about this. When the chips are down a bit, that's when you've got to go back to your why. Everyone's why is different,
yeah, yeah.
but having one like that is pretty
It's a
well
pretty big why.
motivational. Yeah, yeah, 100%. Um, and if we just touch upon the future there a little bit, what are you thinking? The future holds for you. Say, what can I expect from you in the next little bit of time?
Uh, I mean, more experience in what I do,
Yeah,
knowing a little bit. Definitely picked up more accounts. No, it's just
yeah,
maturing a little bit more. And at the moment, I'm still, to be honest, even though I'm 29, turning 30,
yeah,
I still act like a kid. So
yeah,
I'll definitely mature more when you see me next, and the future will hold. Especially having a little one now, I've got to actually start acting more of an adult
yeah,
than a kid. I mean, like, I still play video games and do silly stuff, but I think this will you'll expect more maturity out of me.
yeah. No, we'll keep it calm, mate. Because I think I'm the same. I'm same age as you, and I sort of feel I'm getting to that point where you are. I don't know. You're not 20. You're just very aware you're not 21 anymore. You're
You've got to
like,
you just got to remind yourself. I mean,
yeah,
when you
yeah.
see other 21-year-olds, you're just sort of like, yeah, like that's, you definitely get a reminder that's not you anymore.
No, no, a little bit depressing.
Yeah,
Anyway,
it's a little bit.
moving on. Mate, just one final question actually from me. So I've been asking this question as a sort of finishing question a few times, and it's something that I'm super interested in. It's what a sort of success means to different people, and you can take this which way you like. Take it in professional sense, personal,
Yeah.
whatever. Success to Ray Lacoste. What does that mean?
To me, success is feels like now what I've done now
Yeah,
is literally to, just like I said, touching back to where I'm from, to be able to just have a job, being able to eat every day, anything,
Yeah.
just buy the things that I want to buy, and aspects of, not the flashy stuff, but just the general stuff, and have good family and good friends and around me. That's honestly what success already looks like to me. And if
Yeah.
anything more happens to that, it's an extra blessing for me. So
It's a
you know,
bonus on top.
yeah, and
Love it, mate.
it's a bonus in top.
Yeah. Love it, love it,
Yeah,
love how grounded you are. It's refreshing, mate. Well, mate, thanks a lot for coming on and have a chat with me today. Really enjoyed the conversation.
appreciate it.
You're doing really well in the role. I'm delighted. Yeah, it's only a few months in, but you're already flying, and I think you got a long career ahead in recruitment and hopefully with us. So, mate, well done again. Thanks for the chat, and yeah, Ray Lacoste. Take it
Yeah,
easy.
appreciate it. Have a good weekend. See you later.